Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Star Wars Out in the Dark. My name is Will. I will be your storyteller this evening. And tonight, we will be going without our Flid player. We will miss you, Ike, but we understand that life gets in the way. We picked up last week with Flid, actually, on his derelict ship, as he was trying to figure out how to come back with this beacon that they had found, dating back to the old Republic and the golden age of the Sith. Illis, the Twi'lek, had raced up to the cockpit to pull him down into the cargo bay, where he showed him that this beacon had powered up on its own, and after touching it was given a holographic image, a holographic video, a kind of last will and testament of what happened to this beacon before it ended up in this miniature gas giant in this system. We jumped over to the planet to kind of see where Eedee and Silas had kind of left off eating dinner with their family. Drox and Dana had talked about being on the run with Aquila since she was 3 years old, because the Jedi had come knocking, and they feared for her safety. He revealed that their brother Ingo is a big player on Ord Herrick, and that the last time they'd seen him is when he helped them kind of escape the life they left behind to come here and be farmers. They asked to talk to Aquila privately, where they kind of tried to test her abilities, and they discovered that she is a little stronger than they had anticipated. Eedee also let out, or kind of revealed to Dr. Shakti, that Doman Crow had put in the paperwork for Eedee to become his apprentice, and that there was some trepidation on Eedee's part. We shifted over back to the Zotsec and Flid, as Pris Laynard and the Fane's Rise kind of came out of the gas giant and initiated their chase again. They managed to get enough distance, however, to go into a micro jump, where they ended up back at the planet safe and sound, and they came down on Jix's farmstead instead of going to the Republic base to kind of get the ship repaired. And Flid revealed the beacon and its message to the rest of the crew, and they batted around some ideas. Among them, since they're the only ones that know that this beacon even exists, was destroying the thing entirely. But Flid decided to give them some time to themselves to think it over. He decided to kind of cook for the crew, as that is what he was used to, and that's what kind of calms him down. And once he was done, he told Radio to gather their crew, which Radio took to mean everyone that was privy to the Zotsec radio band, especially Eedee and Silas, who decided to bring AIM Bombaz with them. And there was a moment where Dr. Shakti tried to test Aquila once again, and I think they realized that this little girl has more potential than she lets on, as she made her way downstairs after kind of talking her way out of this other test, and then somehow had Eedee eat, and I use the term very loosely, some ice cream, and then let them know that this could make them happy. And to Eedee, who is a shard and therefore just this inanimate object with sentience, this was the first time it had ever actually eaten anything. And it is an interesting situation to be in as an evolutionary standing point, where Eedee could go from here. But upon arriving, two of them noticed the beacon and its message, and then they saw that there was an entire new crew on the Zotsec. But before introductions could be divvied out, Flid, recognizing AIM as his wife, rushed into her arms, and we left off with the three of them gathered together again, Flid with his crew, but also Flid with his wife. And this is where we're going to pick up, kind of. It's good to see all of you again. It's been some time. Yeah. I was hoping to get all four of you. But like I said earlier, we do know what life happens and life takes a toll. But we're gonna start with, we're gonna open up on a shuttle, and there is this pulse of force that kind of spreads out from Silas. There is malevolence in it. There's a nefarious thought, as you can feel whatever this other presence is that's in your mind and that has taken control of the wheel, per se, has reached out with the force and has sensed these life signs. To him, because it is a masculine presence, they're unknown. But to you, you recognize them as Jix, as Illis, as Flid, and as Eedee. And there's a moment where, in pure anger, you lash out. And it's not you. It's not you. I use you because you're not in the driver's seat. And you can feel there's this coldness that just washes over Jix and Flid. And in that instance, there's a separation between you and the rest of your crew, and the ship kind of rockets into hyperspace. This was maybe a week ago, maybe a month ago, maybe even a year ago. The time has become so nebulous, especially because you've been on a ship the whole time, and you have been coming in and out of this dreamlike state that your abductor has kind of kept you in. There is a moment where you kind of come to, and you can see the miniature gas giant in the distance. You can see two ships kind of rocketing around the outer area of this planet before diving in to the planet itself, to the gas giant. And you just have this bad feeling in the pit of your stomach. But the viewport shifts suddenly, and you descend onto one of the moons of Biontal Prime. It's not Biontal 6 where you were. You don't know which one it is. But you do realize that the same kind of Republic-like base that you remember seeing on Biontal 6 exists here. It's carved into the mountainside. It's built out from the mountainside. And the shuttle kind of lands. You see your hands kind of reach out, and one of them rests on the shoulder of what is this human male who kind of just looks up. His eyes are glazed over. There's a bit of drool that comes out of the side of his mouth, and you can tell that he is completely enthralled by your abductor. And then he kind of taps the co-pilot, who also has glazed over eyes. He kind of nods dumbly, goes over and unlocks a blaster rifle from a weapons locker and starts to follow you out. As you walk into this abandoned Republic base, who must be millennia old, you can see blaster fire decorate the walls. You can see burn marks where lightsaber duels must have happened. And slowly, the shadows start to move. They start to coalesce into these spiritual forms. You can see these half-humanoid creatures start to kind of come up out of the ground. Some of them hissing, some of them lashing out at the air in front of you and then finding no purchase, until finally one materializes almost 75% of himself. Still translucent, still transparent, still kind of like cellophane, but it almost has this look of recognition on its face, and it kneels in front of you. And there's a moment where your hand reaches out and you can see it resting on nothing, but it's resting on what would have been the top of this thing's head. Almost patronically, almost like it is devoted to you in some way, shape, or form. And it is in one of these rare moments where you feel the coldness, like you yourself feel the coldness that the spirit is kind of emanating. You can feel that you have some control over your fingers, and you can start to feel this abductor forcing himself on you again. Let's have you make a perception roll.
Okay.
$15.
Yeah.
Right. There's a moment where you're back in the driver's seat. You have full control over yourself. You can feel the coldness in you. You can feel its anger at losing its grip on you. You don't know how long you have. What do you do?
I turn around and try to start getting back to the ship.
Okay. You make your way out to the main opening. You can see the starport. You can see the kind of glazed over look from the pilot as he's still sitting where you left him, still drooling. And you can hear the footsteps of the other co-pilot kind of, following behind you, confused, but still enthralled either way and following his master. But the second you get out into the starlight in the distance of this system's flickering blue-yellow star, you fall back into the water. There's this waterfall of just memories that start to wash over you. Excuse me. You can see again the night that Nella was taken. You can see the Jedi in his robes kind of pulling her away from your mother's arms. You can see the young human boy who's kind of reaching out and trying to calm her, and after a moment succeeding. And then you're back in the middle of this base where you see this shattered coffer that must have at one point been something impregnable. Just this monster of this treasure chest that has been broken open by time and distress and just nature doing its worst. And your hand flings forward. Several pieces of debris kind of fly in this conal pattern outward from it until a small cylindrical glass case comes forward out of this thing, and inside, almost floating in what looks to be just this clear miasma, is what looks to be a lightsaber hilt. Your hand clenches like a fist, and the glass shatters. the lightsaber hilt is free, and it slowly comes and rolls itself along the fingertips, along the middle of the fingers, along the palm of your hand until your hand grips it almost instinctively, almost comfortably. And as your thumb slides down to the activation switch and you brace yourself for what is about to happen, the click does nothing. There's no blade. There's a moment where you feel the thumb click again and again. And every time it clicks, there's anger bubbling inside of you. Angrily, the other hand comes over, there's a twist, there's a pull, there's pieces floating in between your hands as you're trying to figure out what's wrong. And almost ironically, I think Silas would laugh inside as the cradle comes up and shows that there's no kyber crystal. The lightsaber is refashioned. Everything falls back into place. The hands come in, and there's a snap. And with a simple gesture, the lightsaber hangs from your belt. There's a quick turn, and there is this bellow of just pure anger that comes out from you. And every kind of spirit that had kind of followed you into the room, every spirit that had just kind of hissed or lashed out of you, at you, is just shattered, dusted, except for the one who showed reverence, who stayed at the door. And as you come up to it, it kneels before you. There's a very silent discussion that happens, and you can feel yourself being bombarded with memories that aren't yours. You can see what looks to be this red-haired woman with a green lightsaber, and just this massive quadrupedal creature behind her, but you can feel the force emanating from it. You can see her just redirecting blaster fire. You see her engage with what looks to be the spirit's human kind of living counterpart. And after a quick duel, this woman ends his life. And you can see that the base in question is starting to shake, that there was something that happened here long ago. Your abductor nods and then draws forcibly. You can feel your nail digging into the forehead of this poor co-pilot who just was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And as the sigil is finished being carved into his forehead, the spirit vanishes. The co-pilot shudders for a moment, almost like somebody walked over his grave. And the glassy, glazed over look on his face washes away. And there's a new intelligence that's kind of taken residence in the husk of this body. And you just hear, "My master, I've waited so long for this. It's good to see you alive again." You see yourself nod, again putting your hand on top of his forehead like a father figure. And with that, the two of you make your way back to the shuttle. On the Zotsek, Flid and AIM have taken it upon themselves to catch up on what needs to be caught up on. And so they are going to take their food and go into Jix's farmhouse at Jix's request, of course. And the rest of you are kind of left sitting in what is the communal room of the Zatsek with this whole new crew that you mostly don't recognize, especially Dr. Shakti. Dr. Shakti doesn't know anybody besides Jix, maybe Illis. Eedee, I think, knows Jix, Illis, and Raceup. Prilla and Hattie, obviously, are there as well. But as we left off, Sewa did introduce herself and her twin. And so Raceup is the only one that really needs to introduce themselves to Dr. Shakti, but he kind of comes over and you see him hovering his hands over Eedee's body. And there's a look of excitement, but also worry. He kind of looks up into your ocular cavities, and he's just like, Eedee?
Yes, it is I.
Oh, they finally fixed your voice.
Was there a problem before?
One could say. I like the new digs.
So do I. The magnetic cape is personally my favorite.
Yeah, he kind of stands up straight. He's just like, does this mean that you're working with the Republic again?
I believe it's more of a bargaining chip on their end. It's more of a, look what we did for you. Come back. We miss you. One of those.
Be wary of strangers offering free gifts and all that. And you see him extend his hand towards Dr. Shakti. I'm Raceup, by the way.
Silas Shakti, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you. I'll take it you both saw the egg in the cargo container.
Doesn't look very good.
A few questions.
All right, sure.
I believe it's safe to presume that this cannot be turned into the Republic.
You see Auric kind of take a big swig of his drink, and he's like, I said we should blow the thing up.
Can I do a...
Barnaby comes running over to Dr. Shakti, hands up to be lifted.
Hi, Barnaby!
Can I do a scholar roll to see what else I know about the beacon and like the nature of like the Sith along with it?
Sure.
Okay.
You can always try to remember things.
Lift up, Barnaby.
Okay.
So scared to roll dice. Oh.
You're feared. 11 with a 1 on the wild die. You remember just the basic things that you must have been taught at the academy, the whole golden age of the Sith, how the Jedi were on the ropes until like a fire planet started to just fight against the yoke that this Sith Empire was putting on them. And you can remember thinking back to the three great names, the three kind of unifiers that stood up to Exar Kun and like the Sith Empire are Ulic Kildroma, his brother Kay, and Nomi Sunrider. These were what really kind of turned the tide in the Jedi's favor. But you also know that it wasn't without hardship, that the Sith Empire wasn't completely destroyed, that they're still kind of had enough gumption and resources to kind of come back again a second time, and this time it was with Revan and Nihilus, and again Jedis were called upon to kind of push back against this second wave, the second attempt to unify the galaxy under one banner, whether that be through force, through fear, or through just bloodshed. And after that is when peace was finally found, and where you kind of like are finding yourself at is outside of the game. This is the end of the Jedi era. But nobody knows that. This is still a time of peace. The Sith have not been seen for almost 1,000 years. Revan is a name in a history book, in a history holocron. There's no appearance of a Sith.
We don't believe this is something we want destroyed. If anything, the beacon has become less use to the cause that it was sought after for. However, this plays a larger part into the history of all of this, and it could probably lead to an answer that you're looking for.
Auric gets up, pulls out his blaster pistol. He's like, I got the answer right here. That's the answer we're looking for.
Sadly, it is not.
We blast it, scatter it. Nobody needs to know this thing was even here.
Orc, what is your knowledge of the Sith?
They're bad.
Is that it?
Oh yeah.
Just-
Yeah. I'm sorry. Should I have told you I was done talking?
Yes, you should have.
Oh. All right.
The Sith have a way to control the Force that is outside many powers that the Jedi possess.
So they're better than the Jedi.
No. They tap into these ideas that you would fight against. They are proponents for slavery. They feed off of distress and, for lack of a better word, destruction.
Nothing a good blaster at your side can't fix.
The point I'm trying to make is you can blaster the beacon here, but you do not know what's inside it. For all you know, this could begin a new war. I think it'd be better that this gets turned into the Jedi Council for further study.
I don't know how to feel about that. And his sister kind of pulls him down into the seat. She looks at you. She's like, with all due respect, you're a droid. What stake do you have in all of this?
I look at the doctor. I think some things are not all that they seem.
Indeed, our friend here is much more than a droid.
You like a cyborg? Were you burned by acid?
I haven't heard that one before. We should start using that one.
I mean, yeah, it's something like that, really. Makes sense, right? A cyborg?
Suppose, yes.
For the sake of your understanding, yes, it's like that.
Oh, all right. Do you need the body to keep you alive?
Yes.
Oh, must be a horrible life.
It's alright. Sometimes you can taste ice cream.
I mean, that is a good thing.
It is. I think it'd be important. Let us leave the beacon upon the Zotzek. And then, when the last of our crew is found, we can make a further decision.
At this, orc gets back up and he's like, "What? The last of your crew? Like, you have a crew right here. What do you need?"
Fastest gun in this side of the galaxy, I presume.
Faster than me?
Yes. Probably. Have
Is-
you heard of the gunslinger?
I am a gunslinger.
No, the gunslinger. And
Only
I go to wherever my little cubby is, and I pull out my shirt and I show it to him. The gunslinger.
He looks at you like, "That's just a bar."
No. It's a bar named after a story, and stories have power if you know if you know what they wield.
I don't know. He looks like a buffoon. Look at him. Big oblong head.
That's rude. I would appreciate if you apologized
Yeah,
To what? Your shirt?
to my friend.
I mean, where is he? Where is this fabled gunslinger?
That's what we're gonna go find out. I motion that we go find Silas.
Seconded.
Silas. That's not a gunslinger's name.
Neither is Auric.
Oric, I'll have you know, is my grandfather's name. It carries a legacy. Silas is a soft name anyway, and he kind of goes back and sits down. I don't think we should be wasting resources. Besides, the captain's not here. I vote against. Saywell kind of looks at him, looks at you. He's like, "I hate to agree with him, but the captain is not here right now, so I'm him." Race
I
up,
have a feeling I don't approve of this, but alright.
kind of claps you on the shoulder. Like, I'm gonna take advantage of this then and go spend some time with my wife as well.
Yes, please, go.
You let me know though if you need anything.
Of course.
And whatever you do, don't let him, and he kind of points at Illis, anywhere near the damn controls. He finger guns at Illis. He kind of flicks him off, and then Raceup walks out.
Wait. I have a question for Raceup.
Okay. He stops at the elevator.
If an event were to arise that a certain droid that you have inside of a coffin were needed to, I don't know, take care of a problem on a Republic base, how willing would you be to assist in that endeavor?
Considering that might lead to my droid's body destruction, not highly.
And if it helps free the system?
We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it, won't we?
You will. Enjoy
of-
your wife.
He kind of flicks your like pectoral chest piece as the elevator dings. This looks as shiny and if as almost impressive as what I have locked away anyway. I think you'll be fine.
Oh, I did not mean for me. I meant turning it on.
Oh, that's gonna require somebody that can actually get into its shall we say core, because that thing is still programmed from the last war. But he steps into the
Might be
elevator.
something I can help you with.
We'll see.
We'll see.
The elevator's
Thank you,
closed.
Raisa.
He goes back to his wife. At this point, Jix and Illis kind of look at each other. Illis kind of stands up, goes towards the elevator. Well, I have a lot to think about. I think this definitely changes everything.
It does.
Kind of, you see him just kind of trail off into the distance, and when he comes back, he's like, I have not heard anything from your friend. It's been a week. Even sure he is still in the system.
Don't. But if I know someone, if not two people, who are trailing after him, and I think the doctor and I might be able to figure out where they're going.
Hope you can for your sake. Feel bad that he was taken under my watch. Not that I could have done anything from what I've heard of your stories.
I tried to reach out like with the force to see if Silas is like if his lifeline is there. Is that something I can do? Is that possible?
Sure, roll sense.
Okay.
$16. Hot damn.
Ooh.
He
Got him on
is,
that G.
yeah, with a 6 on the wall die. There is a moment where you kind of close your eyes, you leave everything behind here on the Zotsec. You can hear everybody kind of shuffling around you. Eedee notices that Dr. Shakti just kind of like stands there, their eyes closed. But you can also feel that they're pulling on the force, that they're actively kind of pushing their senses out. And it takes them a good maybe 20 minutes, and everybody's kind of finished eating, everybody's kind of made their way back to their homes for the evening. And there's a moment where Dr. Shakti just pulls themselves out from the ship, out from the atmosphere, out into the system. And there is this sudden burst of starlight that just kind of rockets past your senses, and you see this strange shuttle rocketing towards the closest planet to the star, to Holland. Behind it, as you're racing towards it, you pass an Aether Sprite. Then you pass another. And then as your senses push you through the bulkhead and you kind of pry yourself, forcing your senses into this shuttle that you've never seen before. You see Silas alive, sitting in a kind of cross-legged position in the center of this shuttle. And after a moment, the eyes open, and it's not Silas's eyes that you're looking into. These eyes are yellow and red with anger. There's a starburst of just gold that comes out of its pupil. And you realize that these are the eyes of that darkness that lived inside of you. And as Silas smiles, you're jettisoned from this shuttle forcibly. You can feel the force emanating out of him, and he's just repelling you out of the shuttle. And as your senses start to kind of wobble from one way to the other, and these two Aether Sprites kind of rocket past you, for a moment, one of them reaches out, and you can feel yourself stabilize. And you're awash with these emotions that you haven't felt in a long time. You can feel the hand reaching across the table at that dinner before the insurgents attacked. You can feel the hand in your hand as you kind of walked with them in the garden of this tranquil planet the night before everything just went to shit. And then you're brought back to the Zatzek. And Barnaby's still kind of in your arms. Eedee's still kind of standing by you. But everyone else is gone.
It's just us. Doctor,
Saw him, Eedee.
where is he?
He's on a shuttle going to Holland.
Radio.
He slowly peeks out of the cockpit. Ooh.
Fast would it take us to get to Holland? How long would it take us?
He rolls back into the cockpit. After maybe a minute or two, he comes back out. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Half a day on just impulse.
It would take us half a day.
Maybe an hour with a micro jump.
An hour if we micro jump.
Should we go?
Do we get Flid?
Wasn't him. I mean, it was him, but he wasn't in control.
It's probably this Sith
Yes.
phantom.
Yes.
And as you two discuss your options, we will go to the shuttle. And we will see this green and blue and yellow streaked miasma of an acidic kind of atmosphere just suddenly envelop the shuttle as it dives into the cold side of this tide-locked planet, this first planet coming out from the star in this system. Holland is a dead rock. It cannot sustain life. One side faces the sun for all eternity, one sun does not. And it is this cold atmosphere, this cold hemisphere, that we find the ship descending into. The darkness here is almost absolute. And as the shuttle's lights come on, and you see that you've pierced this thick miasma of an atmosphere, there's craters. There is just this semblance of destruction, of chaos incarnate, of entropy at its best here. And slowly you find this trail of glow rods that have been long dead, but they lead over to what looks like what might have been a Jedi temple of some sorts. It has been crushed, destroyed. There are craters of whatever asteroids or comets have impacted against this poor tide-locked half of a planet. And as you descend, you can feel yourself putting on a protective suit. You can feel the thick kind of layer coming over your skin. You can feel the kind of leather-like substance that this thing is made out of. And you see that there is this co-pilot just kind of hovers like a Renfield, attending to every need before it happens, attending to every want as it imagines it popping up in your head. And it kind of holds out the helmet to you with this devilish grin. The eyes that you once saw on this poor human are gone. There are now just these kind of red and yellow, just broken irises that look like stained glass. And he just kind of smiles and nods, and you take the helmet up, and you can kind of see it come up and around like a fishbowl, and you hear the clicking. And you feel yourself stepping into the kind of antechamber at the end of the ship. The doors close. There is a atmospheric change, and then you feel the ship land. It kind of rocks a little bit as the unsteady ground gives way beneath the weight, and then the ramp slowly starts to open and descend. And you can see that this trail of dead glow rods kind of lead out towards the remnant of this temple. In the distance, as you feel yourself coming out, you can see what might have been a starport at one point. And as you start to make your way towards this crater, maybe 200 feet away from the shuttle, there is a crack of thunder. And turning your attention up towards this nebulous cloud above you of acid, you see this familiar triangular shape descend. It's an Aether sprite. And it lands not too far from you. And you can see that there is this human in the cockpit who's just kind of reaching out to you. There's a moment where you're awash with images. You can see this human standing in front of this case, this atrium, where you see Eedee. You can see that there's a conversation being had. You can see that there's a kyber crystal in front of the atrium. And there's a moment where you focus on that kyber crystal. Like, you feel your abductor focus on the kyber crystal. You focus on Eedee. And there's a moment where you feel the chains slip. Make a perception roll.
16 with red.
One of the wild die.
Yeah.
You start to fight the abductor. You feel like you've made some leeway. There's just so many thoughts bombarding your space right now. And then there's an image of you viewing the same kind of room where the atrium is and where Eedee is, but you're watching it on a view screen. You're watching a holographic image of it, and the door opens and you see Nella walk in. And that vision kind of washes over you with just this sense of joy. You have a sense of pride, but it does just the opposite that you wanted to do. And instead of helping you anchor yourself, the abductor just kind of forcibly pushes you back into the passenger seat, and you see him start to really push towards this crater. You hear the engines of the Aether Sprite kick on, and it starts to hover up. You see its landing gear retract. There's another thunder crack. Another Aether Sprite descends from the atmosphere. And as this one starts to push out with the force, and you start to feel this wave of calm, this wave of peace, this wave of joy, you hear the massive guns on the first Aether Sprite open fire. And the ground in front of you erupts with red and yellow and green and the brown and gray and white of the ground in front of you. And as you look down from your kind of lying position, as you are just propelled backwards, you see that your protective suit has been destroyed. There's cracks all over your helmet, and as you kind of freak out and you start to kind of thrash about, there's a moment where you see your reflection in the broken glass of this helmet, and the shadow, whatever this thing is that has been inside of you, warps your reflection, so it shows you its true form. It's red skin, it's kind of tendrils that come out from where a chin should be, almost like a goatee of skin. And it smiles with its jagged teeth, and you just hear in your mind, well, at least I brought you to a reunion. It's a shame. You won't live to see it. And you feel your face kind of turn in the direction of the shuttle, and there's a moment where your body convulses. You haven't felt like this since the moment that Dr. Shakti reached out and pulled you back from the abyss. And you can feel that it's gone. And now that you're back in the driver's seat, now that you're back and you can feel the kind of vapors of this acidic atmosphere starting to creep in through the broken suit, through the torn and burned suit, and into the cracks of your helmet. Everything starts to go hazy and black, and you see the shuttle just start to take off into the atmosphere. The first Aether Sprite, the one that attacked you, follows. The other one comes closer. There's this kind of opening in the bottom, this hatch that opens up to maybe this coffin-shaped hole in the bottom where you imagine some necessities for longer trips might exist. And as everything goes black, you just see this coffin-sized shape coming towards you, and you feel the worst kind of feeling you have ever felt. And we come back to the Zatsek. Two of you are standing in the communal area. Radio is over by the hallway that leads to the cockpit. And there is just a small kind of spattering of plates that still have some food on the table. A couple of baskets of what look to be rolls of some kind of bread.
I don't think he would be mad. I think we need to do this.
I agree.
Radio?
It beeps.
Can you get us there under an hour?
He spins in place, and you hear him just obscenely talking about how that would be impossible and how you don't understand the laws of space and time, and how you can't just call a parsec a measure of time.
Okay, can you just micro jump? This is very important. Can you just micro jump us there quickly, please?
He stops his spinning and he kind of begrudgingly rolls into the cockpit.
Thank you.
After a few minutes, you feel the ship lurch as it takes off from the field. You can see through the window in the communal area the atmosphere start to kind of come up towards you. And as you see the vastness of space kind of stretched out around you, as you break the atmosphere, you can see the Venator class kind of predecessor to the Star Destroyer just hovering in space in orbit over this planet, which is the ship that Senator Rames came in. You can see just fighters kind of coming and going and doing drills of all kinds, and then you're in the blue tunnel. The ship just rockets towards Holland. And as you drop out of hyperspace about an hour later, you can see this planetoid that has this kind of loose ring of debris at its, not its equator, but at the equatorial line where the hot side meets the cold side. You see that there is an Aether Sprite that has docked with a very familiar ship. But you also see that there are signs of two other ships that have jumped into hyperdrive. There's a remnant of that in the area that radio has picked up. But coming into the cockpit and kind of looking out at the scene, the Aether Sprite, which Dr. Shakti will recognize as Nella's, has docked to the underside of the Neverwhere.
Of the what?
The Neverwhere.
Of the
Of the
Neverwhere.
what? Of the what?
Of the Neverwhere. And as you two drop out of hyperspace and you come across this, there's a moment where a subspace message is suddenly relayed into Eedee's cradle.
Oh no.
You did not know that this was something that has been installed in your cradle, but a message of importance suddenly comes up and plays out of a projector that you didn't know you had. Just kind of, you can hear the voice familiar, and as you kind of reach out and pull open your chest cavity, it kind of shows you this this hollow image of the banker, of the honorable. What's his name? The Honorable Playton Valshigeus.
Huh?
It's just, I hate to send you this urgent message, Eedee, but I think I might require your assistance on Naboo. I believe there is something here that requires your attention. Please, I can be found at these settings, and he gives you a set of an address to reach him. Things are difficult here, and in the background you can see that something is exploding. And he's just like, please, the boy is in danger. I don't know if I can keep him away from it. I need your help, Eedee. Please. You have to be the one that deals with Atragon. And then there's another explosion. He turns to look in its direction, and the transmission ends.
Doctor, I have a bad feeling about this.
The comms come to life.
Did I see that too, or was that just like in Eedee's?
No, that is a holographic projector that he has, so everybody can see it. But the comms come to life. Radio patches it through, and you hear, unknown vessel. This is Riley Gent. What business do you have here?
Is this the Neverwhere?
This is.
Hello, Neverwhere. This is Zotzek. Requesting permission to dock with the Aether Sprite. We know the pilot.
All right. Well, if you could keep your distance, please. And they send you a coordinates for geosynchronous orbit with them. I will pass along your message to its pilot, and if they see fit, they'll make their way over to you. Neverwhere out.
All right.
And the Neverwhere cuts out. There is a moment, maybe about 10-20 minutes pass, and both of you just feel this pulse of force, this pull from the Neverwhere.
Okay.
And both of you feel a familiar presence for very different reasons. For Eedee, there's a bit of trepidation as you are given a sense of calm from Nella, but from Dr. Shakti, there's a little bit more bliss, as you can see that she is stretching out to kind of calm you. And after that, you see there's a few moments, and the Aether Sprite undocks with the Neverwhere, flies over to the Zotzek, and you can hear the clamps, and you can feel the ship kind of rock as it docks with you. And from the communal area, you can hear the knock on the exterior port that would lead to this kind of docking tube.
You want to go get that?
Needs to be open from the inside.
I look at Eedee and I say, I don't think she was trying to kill me. And I go and get the door.
They get stabbed.
Okay. You turn the wheel, you open the airlock, and you see kind of the rear side of Nella as she climbs down, and for a moment she kind of stands in front of you. She smiles, and then she kind of sees Eedee, and she nods knowingly. and then she just throws herself into your arms.
Oh, I embrace
Yeah.
her.
And she just continually whispers in your ear, just sobbing, "Found him, and I saved him. I found him, and I saved him." And you can just see her, you can just feel her repeating that into your chest, just crying.
Where is he?
She points at the Neverwhere. He's in their medical bay.
Who else was on that ship?
They have a crew of 4. I didn't ask too many questions. They were in the area. They're doing surveys for the mining guild. I didn't question. The Force brought them to us for a reason.
That was your brother's old ship. He worked on that ship.
Her face goes white.
Are you okay?
There are very few coincidences in the galaxy. The Force brings everyone together as they should, or whatever lesson needs to be learned. Why is my brother's old ship here?
Do out of game, do
Yep.
we remember the last time that we saw the Neverwhere?
I'm
It
Bespin.
was sold by the banking clan, I believe.
No, you wanted to
Right?
sell them, and they couldn't.
But we couldn't. So, oh my god! So does that mean the captain could be there, or was he dead? No, he's not dead.
He's just missing.
We abandoned him on Bespin.
Yep.
We've abandoned a lot of people on Bespin.
Yep.
Yeah.
Damn, he might not be our biggest fan.
And could Gar be on that ship?
Our death.
Gar and Orlon Vale.
Orlon, was that our captain's name?
Orlin.
Yeah, he's alive. Orlin. Yandro's dead.
Yeah.
He was shanked.
Yandro is dead. Yeah. But she kind of she pulls herself away. She's like, I'm gonna go back. I need to see him. I need to be there when he wakes up.
Could one of us go with you?
Not in the Aether Sprite. Hold on. And she kind of reaches up, she closes the airlock, and you see her pull out a comm unit. She's like, R7, could you decouple and put yourself in orbit, please, along the same kind of geosynchronous line that we're in? And you hear a couple of beeps and boops come back. And she's like, okay, thank you. You hear the uncoupling, and you can feel the ship kind of rock as the Aether Sprite separates. And she looks over at you. She's like, well, now you can dock with them, and all 3 of us can go see him.
Right. Radio, can you dock us, please?
He spins in place once, and he beeps and boops. And to Eedee, who is the only one that can understand him, presumably, he says, I will try my best. And then
Thank you.
starts rolling into the cockpit.
Everybody, brace yourselves.
There's a moment where your ship, you can feel your ship start to move. and then the comms come over, and you hear again they're patched through to where you are in the communal area, but you hear the voice. Zotzek, this is Riley at the Neverwhere again. Why are you getting closer to us?
Oh, I should have asked. Can we dock as well so we can see our friend in your medical bay?
There's a moment where the thing is muted, and then you hear a familiar voice come on. Zotzek, who's your captain?
Well, it was Flid Grild, and then he's currently on a planet. So I suppose acting captain is me.
And who is me?
I am ED57.
Well, this I gotta see. Yeah, you go ahead and dock.
Okay.
And the communication closes. Yeah, that's Orland Vale.
He's gonna be so mad. He's gonna be so mad we're still alive.
He's gonna kill every one of us.
No, we thought he was dead. What are we supposed to do? Like, we really did look for him, and we saw a trail of blood.
Yep.
We have a
So
robot arm.
the ship docks. It is very messy. You can hear scraping and the breaking of some of the hull. You don't know what ship has suffered what damage. But then you hear kind of radio over the loudspeaker. Boop, boop, boop. Which is, we're here.
We're here.
And you are free to kind of open the docking port and climb on up.
I'm going.
All right, so you're going to go first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good shot in the head.
As you climb up and open the hatch that leads into the Neverwhere, you see that there are 3 people all holding blaster rifles on this hull. There's a human female that you recognize from Bespin. There is a male Zabrak that you don't recognize. And there is something that you have never seen before, but it is thin and almost like an anthropomorphic cricket. But the female who you recognize from Bespin kind of motions to the side. Over there, please.
Why do you look so familiar?
I don't know. I've never seen you before in my life.
Are you Miss Gint?
Ghent? Yes.
Gent.
And then as Dr. Shakti comes up, they will also see that they have guns trained on them. And they are asked to move to the side. And as Nella comes up, she kind of has this look of concern and fear. And stepping out from the hallway where you imagine this medical bay is, you see the familiar kind of humanoid deer that is the Nauroni species that Orland Vale belongs to, but the left part of his face is burnt. There is a lightning bolt of scars that kind of crescent shapes around. He has an eye patch. And his left arm is also been replaced with a cybernetic replacement.
Hold it.
And you can hear the shuffling, the not hobbling, but the definite kind of shift from one foot being a little bit smaller than the other, or just a little bit coming a little bit short. And you can hear that one of them is very heavy and metallic in sound. And he just kind of looks at Eedee and his new body. But he looks at Dr. Shakti and he's like, well, I'll be damned. I guess the rumors were true. You did leave me to die on Bespin.
This is our captain.
This is Orland Vale.
He most certainly did not leave you to die. We looked for you. We were trying to find you for so long, we assumed that you were dead.
Riley kind of leans over to look at him. I told you, sir, they'd say anything to kind of get back on your good graces. We
Remember
did.
who this is now. She's the one who killed Mao.
Yeah. We did try to get them to try to find you, sir, but like I said, they just took off.
What?
And he kind of looks at the two of you. He looks at Eedee. I can only assume that you have found yourself a new body, but you're still that kind of thing in there, aren't you?
Yes. I also have a working lightsaber now. So,
Oh,
there's that.
good, because you weren't dangerous before.
No, I wasn't. Some would say I am still not.
Wow.
Have you heard from Gar? He also went missing.
Is he another one that you left behind? You see him,
Also,
you see him
he
kind of
went
cock his
missing.
head.
Similar to you.
Oh, I'll take that as a yes then. He looks at the Zabrak and he's like, Blafik, keep your gun on them. If they do anything crazy, shoot them. Otherwise, feel free to come on board. I believe you know the space. We turned your room into a medical bay, and he kind of goes into what was Dr. Shakti's room. And lying on a slab on just this metallic bed, you see Silas. There is just this acidic burn that has eaten up 80% of his chest and stomach. His face is badly scarred from the gases that kind of seeped in from where his helmet had cracked. But he is breathing. His life signs are stable. And you see that Nella has kind of come over and sat down next to him, holding his hand in hers.
Do I sense any of the... Can I use the Force and see if I sense any of the darkness, Sith being?
Sure, roll your sense. Eedee will feel Dr. Shakti pulling on the Force. Nella will kind of look in your direction but won't say anything. Nine. There is nothing there. There's a little hint of darkness, a little coldness that traces back to when you kind of remember letting Riley kind of kill Mao in front of you. But otherwise, it's Silas.
Would like to accelerate another's healing.
Oh, you have that?
Yeah.
Look at you being useful.
Yeah, no. Sometimes.
All right. All right. So are you going to do it as a snapcast or are you going to take your time?
Oh, no, I'm taking my time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So roll your control first and then your alter.
9,
And then
5.
Silas will get another strength check to help him naturally heal himself.
My head explodes.
It's just too much for you. You feel yourself kind of reach out with the Force. You try to help him as best as possible, but for today, his wounds are just too much. The captain, Orlin Vale, kind of looks at the two of you. So, let's you talk outside. Leave these kind of siblings to themselves. I think we need to exchange information. Since I have been under the idea that I was left to die on Bespin, and you claim that that's just simply not the case.
Pretty much, yes. I believe the general consensus is that you were dead.
As you can see, I'm not.
I know. Congratulations.
Genuinely, I'm very happy to see that you're not dead, and I am truly sorry that we left you. If I thought with any part of me that you were still alive, we wouldn't have left. We saw your blood. We came back, and there were missing bodies and blood where they were used to be, and a trail. I mean, bodies don't survive very long when they're losing that much blood. It could only have been assumed that you had maybe 2 days max before you were dead, and we waited longer than that.
And there was also the dead Jedi.
I heard about that, yeah. But he leads you out into the communal area that you're used to, and he looks at you and he's just like, what do you know about an organization called the Void Star?
Void Star?
What do I know about that organization?
Do you have... Oh, wow, that's a good question. What skill would pull that? You could try law enforcement. Yeah, you could try law enforcement.
22.
Wow. What about Streetwise?
You could use Streetwise, sure.
I do a roll too?
Yeah. 17. Okay. Between the two of you, given Eedee's past and Dr. Shakti's kind of ties to the underworld, you both... Eedee recalls that there was an organization that had started around his time, like his prime, called the Void Star. Small potatoes, kind of outer rim, taking advantage of like a power vacuum when a hut died. But Dr. Shakti also knows that they have become a big force on the edge of the outer rim and the mid rim, where the kind of republic starts to fray. Like this system is one of those kind of fraying points where the Void Star could actually excel in. And he kind of looks at the two of you as you divulge anything you feel like divulging.
I'll give my little history lesson.
Yep.
I'll just say that I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're making their move on the system. So
This system?
this system.
That's a shame. Apparently, this system is Sith property.
Yeah, that's a good one. Sith.
I'll play my hologram of the what we saw, because I have that.
Yeah, the recorder.
Yeah.
He looks at you, is like, I don't know what that egg thing is, so I can't say it's
a Sith beacon. It's a marker. Apparently, they lay claim to this land, this system. And I know what you're thinking, but Eedee, the Sith are all gone. I wish that was the case.
He looks at you, is like, excuse me. Where's this beacon now?
Last I checked, it was on the main planet of the system. The name I forgot right now, and the name I've already forgotten. Or
Talking about where you took off from?
what planet were we just on?
Beyontal 6.
It is on Beautiful 6.
Oh. Alright. You need to stay as far away from Beyontal 6 as possible then.
Wait, no, hold on. Out of character. Just the four of us. This beacon is very much in our cargo bay.
Is correct.
Oh no! Oh no! We brought the beacon to the Sith Ghost!
Did? I didn't know it was in our cargo bay. Oh, what a silly, we're silly billies.
And as
I'm having a breakdown.
as the two of you are kind of trying to not give Orland Vale any idea where this beacon is what I'm assuming why you said it was on the planet. You see the cricket, the large humanoid cricket, suddenly its antennas kind of perk up and it goes running towards the cockpit. And after a moment, you hear over the loudspeaker a very modulated voice. We have incoming. A ship has dropped out of hyperspace. And as the very modulated voice kind of reaches the subconscious of Silas, you kind of start to shake from whatever hold sleep has had on you. And even though your body is aching, every joint burns, and everything in your body is just asking you to please find some bathtub of ice and just die in it. There's a warmness in your right hand. You can feel as you start to move your fingers that there's somebody's hand is in your hand. And as you turn, you see this adult version of that little girl that was stolen from you all so long ago. Her eyes are just watering, and her smile is genuine. But you also notice that she's wearing the trappings of a Jedi. The lightsaber hangs at her belt. The robes are all too familiar. And her other hand comes over and cups your one hand. And she just kind of kisses the tips of your fingers.
I just kind of shake my head. Is this another one of these weird dreams?
She shakes
and I say that in my normal voice.
She shakes her head, and you see her start to cry, and she's just like, I always pictured you with a different voice. And she just kind of holds your hand up to her face.
I try to sit up.
It is impossible. It is so painful to even think about.
Right.
But she leans in closer.
I put my hand up and I just kind of put it on the other side of her face and like, I've been looking for you, little one.
How is everyone back home? Tell me everything. And as your stomach drops like the Tower of Terror at the news that you have to tell her, or that you might not tell her about, this is where we'll end tonight's episode. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. As always, please, if you haven't gotten your vaccines, please go get vaccinated. If you feel like you have to, please continue to wear your mask in public, continue to wash your hands, continue to keep your distance. And as always, if you are watching live on Twitch, I am putting up some phone numbers on our Twitch chat in case you feel like you need to talk to somebody, in case you feel like you need help, because mental health should not be stigmatized or tabooed or labeled as something not to talk about. We're all dealing with different things. We all have different demons that we're facing, and we don't know what people are going through. So please, if you feel like you need to reach out, please do. If you feel like you need to check in with somebody, please check in on them. If you normally have a friend who is happy-go-lucky or a strong personality, please send them a simple hello or how are you, because checking in can change the trajectory of somebody's life, and it just means so much more than you really think it does. But please keep your distance, keeping each other safe. We are the only ones that get to kind of make a name for ourselves on this planet, so please make a good one out of it. And if anything, I will see you tomorrow on McStabber Studios for our Mage game. I will see you on Monday if there's no hurricane in Miami, because most of my cast is in Miami, for our Anarch chapter of our Vampire the Masquerade game. Our Legend of the Five Rings game has ended, so if you want to check out the first arc of that, please go to our YouTube page. And if not, I will see you next Friday for the continuation of our Star Wars Out in the Dark campaign. Please be safe, have a good night, and I'll see you when I see you.